try to be still because people tell you. I used to stand at attention. Oh, I've spent years trying to provide, like, doing dog stuff. Ayahuasca showed me this, right? By the way, if you have to do ayahuasca, skip the Peruvian and go for the Hawaiian ayahuasca. The Hawaiian ayahuasca is good. It's sweet and it's red like blood. It's really cool. Yeah, they make it from like a vine and a root. And if you ask the shaman, they say the plants told them how to do it. So, whatever that means. Yeah, I'm a fan. Anyway, yeah, I started seeing a movie, and yes, the mind is intelligent, and yes, people are psychic. I think people can see each other's imaginations. It's like the lesson from the campfire or the story time, especially the medicine, is that people see each other's imaginations, right? The energy, the psychic energy that the person flows with can be detected by others of our species. And so as soon as I clued into that, I created a conspiracy about how, let's say, the elite, who are all somatic mushroom eaters, right? They know about the ceremony with psychedelics. Because a psychedelic is a gateway from the universe to you. Now, it could be said that, a predatory mushroom would make the host feel like they were in bliss, and make the host feel like they were intelligent, and make the host feel like they were the best. And it would trigger things that would fool others. That's a theory, anyway. To me, it's more like it just happens to, does it work that way? No, there's synchronicities and things that it can do that are stunningly intelligent, right? There's things that will happen on psychedelic. Like, you don't need a psychedelic. You could take any piece of paper and be told it's magic and it'll do the same thing. But it is pretty convincing when you're on it that there's really something going on. But anyway, best I've ever felt. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was really cool, right? Like, um, I driven back and I was higher than I've ever been. I was so high, and my friend's like, "I'm seeing pyramids." I was the one driving, right? I drove, and my friend was seeing pyramids. And anyway, I get out, and just like ayahuasca does weird things, right, with timing. I get out, and there's this little kid with a rainbow on his face, because you just see psychedelics. This is kumbaya as it is, and this little kid comes up, goes, "Hey, mister, these are for you," and he hands me this gigantic handful of leaves. And like the number of times in my life I've been directly interacted with like that are relatively rare. Most time has not had that going on. And so I found it remarkable that a kid, who knows who he was or why, I'm sure it's the most incidental thing in the universe, was handed me a handful of leaves with a rainbow on his face when I had just come back from like an ayahuasca journey, right? So, yeah, alphas breed. The reason all the people are uh, going out and upset right now is they're getting to mating age, meaning they're nesting. They're gonna take basically the younger generation is taking over for the older generation. And the first thing we've done is identity of problems. People are so weird. In America today, people are ideologically pro-trans. You have no option but to accept and love people who've changed their genders through chemical means, right? At the same time, they have so many contradictory beliefs. I can't even understand it. Um, it does look like a gridlocked system. It's like if you were to look at how America runs, it would look like the most schizophrenic person on earth, but it's really just a representation of many different people having many different opinions. You know what I mean? But to me, there's a right way to do it, and that's what obviously works. What feels the. Oh, yeah, that's a trick too. Talk about manifestation. To feel really, really good is a great precursor to thinking things which cause good results and having meetings which have good results. The ability. I'm trying to burp. I've been having soda. To be able to burp. I wonder what that means psychologically. I can't burp, right? Weird problem to have. I don't burp easily. I gotta touch the button in the back of my throat. It's like My brother can burp. So, yeah. I have the talent of lung capacity. I can basically hold my breath nearly forever. So, yep. Can talk in circular breathe. I could talk for hours and it's like I'm not even breathing. I'm not sure where or how I learned it, but it just is like instant. Definitely yoga. Yoga will have you do a thing where you're breathing in and out at the same time and you have to combine it. And it sounds tricky, but you can just like, especially, here's the thing with yoga, the reason it works. You're calling on a dead guy to be there. You're calling in a spirit has perfect supernatural power because it's not grounded in the physical, right? So you call upon a spirit. To him, it's as easy as he pushes a button and you'll do it. And so that's why they say karmically to even pray at all, to ask at all is good. And so for me, the message of the Bible is interesting. The Bible messes up because it gives a perfect genealogy. It says who made who. It goes from Adam and Eve to the modern people. We know every human that's been. Well, all they did, and we know this because of archaeology, is they wrote their ancestors as being the first people, fuck everyone else. That's what happened. And so we have an issue where it means the Bible's not historical. That means it's not the Word of God. That means God didn't write it. So there is a really weird situation where I truly believe that prayer and searching and contact, all those things works. And yeah, contact works. Make first contact with the universe, the other side. Make first contact with, talk to Sirius. You know what I mean? And the reason why is there's some managing power here which seems to be supernatural and intelligent, right? This thing seems to have power. And I don't know why or how, but it does. It's powerful. So, the interesting thing is, you can see, there's plenty of animals that eat other animals. God doesn't go, no, they're not punished. And we know from, like, the earth is like, as my friend from, what do you call it, Truth Hurts. He was a Jehovah's Witness, and he has used a lot of his time to go into detail about why he doesn't believe in his religion. It's kind of a tricky spot. Apostates have been in danger for most of history. They're not allowed to be who they are. And because the earth has just been stunned by science, everyone's looking at a phone. There are people today who think the fact the phone talks to them is because God runs it. They don't know how much work went into the algorithms, the math, I've heard China say when they figured out AI, hey, guess what? Our intelligence is nothing more than an algorithm. Our intelligence can be expressed through numeric values, essentially, or variable web connections, relationship webs, right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, humans are way too arrogant on their ability to breed. They've said in many holy books, and again, like the shock that the Bible's not the Word of God, there's just plain archaeology that exists before when they said the Bible occurred in the beginning of time. The Bible pretty clearly denotes when this all got started. And there looks like there's a ton of archaeology way before that. And that is just crushing proof it's fake. Just like spiders make webs, and tigers have camouflage, and humans have smarts, right? So too did religion have its functions, and it existed in the minds of people. It was a trust me, bro. Somebody said trust me, bro, and then made up a smidge, a tidge, a midge, more paranormal contact than he actually experienced, and it threw the whole world into delusion for centuries, But on the other side of that, there does seem to be a power that responds when you call. And that thing has a way of just slipping into the environment and letting you know it's there. Right? What is that power? Why should the Bible not have historicity? Which is just curious. Just the story of evolution works so well with DNA And the I'm not a microbiologist. I would have loved it. Oh, the Microcosm series these days is so good. The Microcosm series is just wow, blowing my mind. Never seen anything like that. Um, and we're like the first humans too, because all the early greats, they didn't have that reference. So the things about the Microcosm series I see is the interrelatedness of things, that it's exactly like those games where you have to build a spaceship, like pull the freaking engine and do all that. But they have, like, because it's real life, they have a more sublime interrelatedness. But it is like this kind of crazy game. Like, evolution is cooler than all the Divinity stories, because it means through what survives and what thrives, we have a tempo and a rhythm and a direction, right? And that we have the diversification of species from simply what did the parents look like, what did the kids look like. And that game is why everything is. And it's so effortless, and it tells such a long story. It's a story of so many hundreds of millions of years. Like, if you want something to happen quick, we're the ones who are going to make it happen, right? And so humans have like a launching point right now. They can decide. And this is such an interesting time in history, because I'm in belief of ETs. There is a strange parallel between getting high and meeting aliens. I don't know why. You're going to meet aliens when you get high. I think they enjoy it. I literally think that's it. You could say it's an hallucination. Your mind is making more sense out of things than it needs to, like unnecessary conclusions, right? A habit. Oh yeah, that'd be true. The religious archetype is sort of like this domination conclusion. I mean, you know when you've been hoodwinked when somebody looks at you and says, "Oh, you're no good because of this," and usually what they say is like just made up. He's just trying to fight you for turf, right? It's annoying. Yeah, guys can't trust guys when it comes to like what's real, because they're universally like turfy. They're really rude. So yeah. And they're that way because it covers resources. But there's been a selection. That's what jail is. Jail is the new selection. Are you a man who works together? Do you follow the law? Do you follow the rules? The big paradox is the guys at the top don't. The guys who decided to write the rules in stone were making it up, didn't know any better, and they were doing the things they told you not to. Like, you don't need to be a genius to see that in the name of keeping me or anyone else, in the name of keeping you from kidnapping, stealing, and murdering, they kidnap, murder, and steal. They spy. They do every single thing, every single rule that we have. They don't have to follow if they say it's okay. This is why I drive around in the vehicle I drive around in and live the life I live, and nobody has ever stopped me, because I have said with my whole actions, I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. And they're like, yeah, I get it. I hate this place too. Right? And so the law and the word cult, the word fetish, what does it mean? People have been programmed through the Bible's suggestion, through thousands of years of education. This covers how the English think. This covers how Americans think. This covers how my ancestors thought. Was words were in the beginning of time. They cared a lot what words you used. You weren't allowed to just sit there and be silent. You had to say something. And the saying things will leave you in the orientable box of the word cult, which has presuppositions which are not grounded truth, right? And so it's a situation where almost all of them are crazy. You can't listen or talk to them because they believe things through hypnosis that aren't grounded, right? And so they're nuts. These people are nuts. Anyone in the law fetish, you don't get safety from what you don't want by screaming about not doing it, but you can stop people by doing it by taking action, right? But anyway, I don't know. I have never been assaulted by a criminal. then again, there's also satellites, and policing is aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, I'm probably been safe my whole life because there's been nothing but jail everyone who disobeys. Because they don't put unreasonable laws like you have to watch this on Tuesdays. They just say things like no bludgeoning people, you know what I mean? But then again, they bludgeon people in the name of doing it. So, I mean, like, yeah, they spy on you, they'll kidnap you, they'll throw you in jail, they'll steal from you. Hey, you need to, because we don't like what you did, we're going to kidnap you and force you to pay us money. How is that not theft and kidnapping and racketeering? And it is. And so the relationship between police, entertainment, and let's say rich guy media is that they want the racket going that your neighbor can't be trusted. They like it. That's from the Bible. It keeps everybody separate, and it keeps people disconnected. You know, you don't need to worry about somebody who you go up and hold his hand, or you bump his shoulder or give him a hug, or her. You don't need to worry about those people. Those people will look out for you, right? You don't need to go pistol first. You don't need to go sign, stop. You have a whole world of people who can't stop because they're still trying to be still, like the Bible says you have to be lawful. The Bible condemns the universe. Imagine being a guest in a place that you hate. You would be a terrible guest. Now imagine being a guest in a place that you love. You're going to be a much better guest, right? And the Bible uses love again, I think, is like it wants to replace. A man wants to love a woman. He doesn't love anybody else. He's not a baby. He doesn't even really love his mom that way anymore. He remembers her, and he cares about her, but he doesn't love her. You know what I mean? And so the Bible forces you to take love, and it says, no, 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 no. All the bliss, all the ecstasy, all the love, that's in God. I haven't found that. Don't believe it's real. The priests who say they found it have merely convinced themselves now they're in girls. That's how it is. It's the prime directive. Reproduce. Why? You're not going to be around 100 years. You need to get that shit out or you don't exist. Right? It's about beating time. It's about beating time. You know, I want to give a possibility though. If transcendental superconsciousness exists, if there is a form of I got spooked. Transcendental awareness, then it would be possible technically to live forever if you worked with it, in my opinion. But test the people who claim they can do that. Your entrance is a person. You prepare the testing site. Don't let them. They come in butt naked and with, a full check, right? If that person can live, say, 7 years without eating or drinking, he has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he has connection to transcendental superconsciousness. If he can, many people are magicians and hoaxers, and they can, of course, pass the test when they prepare the testing site or one of their friends or lackeys. You have to prepare it with the sterile sensitivity. With, he's going to be living there. Of course, the person going in can request details and you can work with them, because if he's going to be spending 7 years in meditation there, it ought to be at least serviceable and livable in a sense. But we're testing to see if he can generate energy just from ambient presence. And if anyone can do that, that is the new leader of humanity. Listen to that person, because it will liberate us from carnal sin of eating, and it will make us intellectual gods, and it will make us energy. Imagine a person who gives energy around you instead of is trying to find a way in to eat you, right? It'd be a marked difference. People would be able to tell that this being was unique. And in some ways people have, but the trick is that most of the people I think you think of as divine is that they've really just had like mushrooms or drugs, which, how someone's feeling? If you change how you're feeling, then other people feel differently about you. And that's a fact. So that's one of the reasons they wanted it controlled, is they didn't want people to have that power. That's why, they love Robin Williams. He's on cocaine and probably heroin and probably all these things. And he's just yacked out of his mind. And you're loving it. because you can feel it, because he makes you laugh, because nobody feels that way. Who is he? What is he experiencing, right? But then it comes time to do it, and they go, "Oh, no, no, no! I'm the slave class. I only get rewarded by the yuppie cakes they sell down at the Quick Mart." You know what I mean? I have to have all these things. They personally have drawn a barrier because the word guy told them not to. The origin of words, laws, and God. That's who's behind this. Really not. You pay attention. They kidnap you. They steal from you. They murder whoever they want to. They were the terrorists. You mean Al Qaeda was made by the CIA and ISI to fight the Russians in Afghanistan? They just were like, we got this empty splinter cell sitting around. Oh, go to Saudi Arabia for training. They were all Saudi Arabian, and then we said Al Qaeda did it. What? How does that work? I don't even know. What private meeting had people been in where they agreed to do that? If it's true historically that no U.S. persons were in on it, that it was really just a ragtag group of terrorists who are like, we're going to attack the great power, they don't think we can, and we will. If it's truly the story that real homegrown like terrorists decided to do that on their own, okay, I forgive and apologize. I shouldn't have talked about it. It was the wrong thing to say. It was the wrong thing to say. There's a lot of speculation and insecurity about where those attacks really came from and who they were really benefiting. And it looked like the people who were in power at the time the attacks happened were the ones who decided to make the attacks happen, basically for no scummier of a reason than to hide stolen money. Erase everybody who could ever know. You know what I mean? As easy as a CIA contact phone call. Hey, Al Qaeda, we got a new mission for you. They found him next to a Pakistani military base, right? That confirms the ISI connection. He was just down the street from a Pakistani military base. It's probably true. So, that's why I'm out here in the desert. I am spooked to high hell. We don't know what the fuck is going on. And the more I get into like real nature and the more I find out religion's not real, I see it is. It's a slave cult. Everything going on planet Earth is so that some people have everything and everyone else has nothing, and they have to do what some people say. And that first happened through religion in the Bible. In the beginning is the Word is with God, and the Word was God. And you have to follow these rules because God is coming back and He's sending you to hell based on the judgment of how well you followed the rules. Well, the problem is the Bible also commits itself. Not a lot of people know this because this is the terrible side of the Bible. It commits itself to a Zerubbabel freaking genealogy that it basically made up. Because if we count how old each person was, and in the lineage of where they came from, what we find is the Bible goes like this with human history and says this was Adam and Eve. But if we zoom out all the way and look at archaeology, humans have been around on a time scale way longer than that, doing way more than they talked about. And then we look for the evidence of a global flood, a united worldwide flood event happened all at once, right? When we look for that evidence, we don't find it reportedly. Nobody can find a marker that the whole world was underwater all 1 year. It looks like literally you're like, God damn it, Greg. Yeah, it's as literal as somebody turned to somebody else and said, I know something you don't. What? I know where we really came from. And it's like made up. He may not even know it's made up. He may have nature. Here's the thing with words and winning, right? In evolution. People who spoke confidently, people who captured attention, and people who were interesting and good storytellers, people who acted like they knew what they were doing, were very alpha, and they were very boss, and they succeeded both with women and with men. They had soldiers and they had people. And the problem with that is confidence doesn't necessarily need to have accuracy, right? Not to be successful, right? You can just because I have 100 people behind me and I told them it's because we're going to meet Michael Jackson, doesn't mean I don't have 100 people behind me. You know what I'm saying? That's my theory. And the big bitter question has been that it seems like God was real too. That there is something like that, you know. Maybe this is just really good weed, you know. How many God contacts do I have when I'm utterly without marijuana? Not many. So what does that mean? Maybe that's why I made it illegal. They needed fewer people saying, "Don't you see the dragons?" We don't need anybody saying, "Don't you see the dragons?" We need people who are good at math and science building faster cars. Missile defense. How are we shooting all the Chinese nukes out of the sky? You guys got to be thinking about that. Do we got our laser system yet? Maybe we need way fewer boots on the ground. You know, maybe we don't need any more soldiers. We have enough missiles and UAVs. Let's do that now. But no, you always need some soldiers, because how are you going to hold a city? Why do we even need to do war? Well, the same reason we have the Bible. If you let two men look at the same stuff, they're both going to say it's theirs. You know, when I think of Scarlett Johansson, I don't think of her as other people's guys. I think of her as yet to be my woman. You know what I mean? That she's my woman in my head. The reason why is the people who are obstinately, groundedly, selfishly self-oriented, they didn't let other people rule who they were, won and succeeded and thrived. And so the funny thing is that's who everybody is. Everybody's that fucking all about me. That's why Grandpa will throw his grandson under the bus so he can get with the girl he likes. He doesn't care that he's an old man. It doesn't. He is 100% a snake. It's Cannibal Island. So anyway, I'm happy with this video. It's a good one. Hey, if you got this far, put a basketball in the comments. What else do I want to talk about right now? I think that was it. Yeah, just giving it to. There is a dream time that's easily accessible. Like, I don't know how it is. It is when you're ready to test the mystery of life. You do find that it is kind of poetry. Like, yeah, there is life and death, but that's because the creator was such a poet. You know, he knew that it needed that level of passion of eating, and or maybe not. You know, maybe that's complete hockey-gory bullshit. Maybe that's, you know, there's no magic words coming in the sky saying, say this. I'm not repeating verbatim some celestial body saying, write this down. You know, if you don't notice from the way the angel Morani, right? He calls you Morani. Why? Because he's a fucking calling you a moron. You know, it's like there's a type of person, and I regret to say, I don't know, kids. There's a type of person who earns his bread and gets his lead and has his girlfriends based on I'm the coolest. A lot of social skills, like loving somebody and then being prepared for betrayal. Like, the ones who survived are the ones who are here, and we've been here way longer than the Bible says. So there's still, like, there's all these veins and like little thought bubbles of just biblical bullshit, which is just really the temporal guessing of an extremely emotional and biased person. That's all the Bible is. The Bible's just a very biased person's rant about what he thinks could happen. It's no better than a bar conversation, but the problem is the right persuasive people heard it, and the right persuasive people went out and protested it. And in a way, it was a way to regain control from authority. You know, there's a real Lord. There's a new Lord in town, and none of you are him. His name is Jesus. Right? In a way, it's a good reaction to kings saying they're infallible. Right? But and that's why there's some early stories that I think with the circumcision, I think the test of the biblical author is he wants the right answer to be that you don't believe him and don't get circumcised. I think that's what you're supposed to do. It's not cleaner. The people who say that are barbarians. The thing needs to be there the way it is. It's carefully, it exists in every other mammal, and it's carefully engineered. You can't just take the foreskin off because you want to. Yeah. What a weird alteration to make. Who told you to do that? Nobody. You invented that. I'm offended that that happened to me as a baby. That happened to me as a baby in your culture, and then you fucking you guys really let me down. Like the way I feel about you. Mm-mm. Who are you? Who's running us? Uh-uh. I don't like any of you. I mean, Nazis beware. We're getting rid of you. No more Nazis. No more people walking around thinking they have the only way it can be and everyone else ought to listen because they don't know shit and they've always demonstrated it. Anytime they go off a ledge and give like authoritative opinions on history, it's wacko. Well, of course the answer is the guy who's speaking doesn't care. It's wacko. He's just using you. He just wants it. He's going to get it, right? The world is filled with predators, filled with them. Tons of creatures who don't do shit to get it but stalk other creatures and kill them and eat their bodies. That's how planet Earth is. You know what I mean? Being digested can't be quick. If you're lucky, you struggle enough, the predator has to kill you, so you don't feel it that long. You won't even be around to remember it happened. You know, you're just gone. So, and if you passed on and there's living members of your family, then you survive. And if you didn't, then you die and you will cease to be. And that's how it is. 99% of the species who lived here are gone. Now, there is a theory if we came from the conscious decision of another being. If we did not, we are in the most precarious and sensitive and refined position possible. If we are not the result of another conscious being's decision of a responsible power, if we're literally just the result of breeding games, yeah, that's pretty interesting. What a story. I don't exist because any god said so. I exist because this is just what happened until now. It's kind of interesting. It's a very free story. Yeah, maybe I'll drop some kids off at the sperm bank if you really want it. In my opinion, if you're gonna have a kid right, you gotta feel the energy of it, and that's what circumcision was. Circumcision was the most aggressive they could get with all men. No human would admit or confess to a deeper genital mutilation than circumcision, but it's affrontive. It's an attack. You know, what did I find when I was alone? You can't be still, and someone had touched my dick when I was a baby. That's what I found when I was alone. That's fucked up. I don't trust you. Your society looks fucking fake. The people keeping the rules do all the things they tell you not to do in the name of keeping you from doing them. They fucking print the money at your debt and then you owe some of it back every time you use it too. Yeah, no wonder nobody has any money. You guys are thieves. You let a bunch of con men who only told you they knew what God said tell you how to run everything. You guys have been genitally mutilating your sons because a fucking fairy tale told you. I'm not impressed. I'm really pretty let down. I really am. I feel like the people who came before me should have had a little more interest in how well I would do because I just feel betrayed. I just feel fucking betrayed and used. You know, the only reason there's education is so I can go move a fucking cog. So that somebody somewhere can have a fucking gold statue without having collected all the gold. You know how hard it is? If it was up to you finding the gold for your statue, that'd be the only thing you do in your life. But when you have the resources to trade 100,000 people sifting for gold, now you can get a statue overnight. So it's all about being on the winning end of that trade. If nature were abundant, not all these creatures would be eating each other all the time, right? Where does energy come from? Biggest theories out there. If you can in your bodies through a mental attitude generate infinite energy like yoga claims, then you need to prove it. If there is a true super yogi out there who can just sit down and meditate and like years go by and he hasn't moved, go ahead and step into a scientist prepared lab and please show everyone. I want to see that. But if nobody can do that, then it is carnal games. Then the strategy becomes develop plants that feed as many as possible. Develop abundant plants. I don't care if you have a meat cactus, you know, where just like steaks appear. You could technically do that. Yeah, life synergies are way easier to do than people thought of. There's just so many new scientific discoveries about how to do these like highly advanced things. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if they could eventually speed light down into an edible solid. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's proof that science is real. It's, and if science has said no religion, he goes, what? Because the religion, my Bible, the Christianity relied on it being the Word of God. You guys told me God said this, and then you told me what the Bible says, and it was just kind of like it was just a sex control method, you know. Like I've said, chimps are dangerous. Chimps have eaten people alive. Chimps have done all sorts of things, right? And so we control chimps. Well, humans too. You need a society run by men and women who have sex hormones and are territorial and have guns. And so you had to have a law. You had to tell them God said not to do that shit anymore. So it is kind of funny that, yeah, okay, the Bible might be a hoax, but a hoax for who? A bunch of savages. Okay, I can see why. I could see why it seemed like a good strategy. You know, the laws are good, honor your mother and father, all that stuff. The problem is the foreskin obviously doesn't regrow ever. If the foreskin gets cut off, no amount of sinning is going to cause it to come back. So the hypocrisy is the main priest who made up circumcision hadn't had it done himself. I just swear it's in the language that he means to tell you that it's like a joke behind the scenes. I just have a sense of that. As like a semi-vicious and petty person, he wanted you to circumcise your young purely on a hoax. He knew it was a hoax too. He's as bad as a serial killer, full of his ego. I am God. I guarantee he was doing occult magic, naming him as the true Lord of Christ. You know what I mean? Like, if the author of the Bible had put himself beyond the holies of holies just to ensnare everyone in a word logic. There are so many people in my age. This is a scientific, rational, historical fact that are hypnotized by the idea that words are at the beginning of time. They are hypnotized by that idea. They need it to be true that words are the beginning of time and words have meaning over life. Through words one creates, right? Well, the reason the Bible wants that to be true is it's selling you bullshit. No God is telling them what to say because it doesn't have historicity. The fact that the really grounded proclamations of the Bible don't look like historical facts is so disturbing because it means its whole swing is really a really desperate attempt to take over everybody and get it by them. The Bible wants to get it by you. It doesn't want you to know that it's a lie. It tries really hard and it succeeded. It's the biggest news ever is the Bible is the hoax because it means that for 2,000 years, it means for thousands of years, the Bible has been misleading people for nothing more than spite. It means for 2,000 years, for thousands of years, humans have been genitally mutilating their children and believing in fairy tales as facts. The biggest news of the age is the Bible is a hoax. It's one parasite we can defeat. It's one disease we can get rid of. The disease of... There is a disease in humanity called I saw something which you don't know about. Or something like that. You know, all the hoaxes, all the cons. They're disgusting. No conning people. No hoaxing people, right? No more, at least. I have wasted so much thought and so much of my personality for stuff that doesn't exist. Like, don't be arrogant, be humble, be charitable. You got to see it's not a God talking. God isn't suggesting these things. A man is. But he said God said. The Bible in my world had a unique tag called the only literal words of God. And they fucking got at my genitals when I was a baby to do that to me. I'm a type of mad I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you how just absolutely fucking rejected I feel. Like, oh, that was how it was. That's how it is. That's how you guys are. Have fun. Keep this thing. It's yours. That's the type of people I'm dealing with. Hey, you remember what God said in the book he really wrote? He didn't. It didn't give a real history. It didn't give a real history. The Bible does not give a real past a certain point in history. Actual archaeological history is different than it. No global flood. and no original two people evolution, right? The co-similarity of a man to a chimpanzee has to do with breeding in time. It has nothing to do with a similar designer. Maybe there's a similarity in geometry or, right? But even then, it's pretty clear that there were just survival and mating choices of the species and it caused directionality. Those early humans who said you're smart or you're off, smart or get out. Those humans were smart because now we're all intelligent. Now we're all brainiacs. Anyway, I think that's enough for right now. Thanks for listening to my my other lecture. What am I going to call it? The continuity. Yeah, I'm an essayist. I learned through public speaking and all this practice that when I talk about one subject the whole time, extemporaneously. I have tons of experience and knowledge, and I choose to do it from. I just saw Saturn in the hill. Like, what did that mean? Was that an imagination? Right? See, I have religiosity inborn in me. So the most interesting thing, I can't deny it, there are fossils and evidence of a history that the Bible looks like it was pretending to know and didn't know about. It looks like the authors of the Bible didn't actually know how it happened, and their guess was so far from the truth that it makes the whole book fall apart.